We've finished with scene 5, and that was the shocking one, the one I didn't want to have to tell, about the stadium and about the people who come from outer space who become the most important leaders of the world that aren't really ETs, they're EDs. And the first thing that happened with when the person we call the Antichrist, who's the leader of the whole globe, the one world order, I think I told you that he had died, and after 3 days of horror, he comes back to life and takes over and says, I'll be talking to you from Jerusalem tomorrow. So the one thing that he did immediately that lasted through the end of the vision is that he instituted guillotines. It has 2 L's for those people in the Midwest who say guillotine. When you have 2 L's, it's pronounced as a Y. Not that it's a big deal. I'm just saying, as you talk to your friends, it's guillotine. He put them all over the world by the time it was done. First it was just in the big cities, and then it was in a lot of cities, and then eventually all over the world. And the idea was anybody who didn't have the mandated mark that says you belong to us, because it's all about allegiance. Who is your allegiance to? Is your allegiance to, in our case, as born-again Christians, our allegiance is to the man we call Jesus, the Son of God, whose real name was Yeshua. Our allegiance is to Yeshua and his Father Yahweh, who created the universe and keeps it going. But in this new era, after this is announced, they make peace and safety the #1 focus. And the way to have peace and safety, this new leader said, is that any person who cannot pledge allegiance and their loyalty to me and to us for peace and safety is an enemy. They are a rebel, and they are to be feared. And the first thing you will notice about them is that they commit crimes, because they're all about themselves. It wasn't about, the world choice is good, but world peace is better, that we heard so many times. It was about them, and they wanted more money, so they would rob somebody, or they had anger issues. Well, he said, I'm going to stop that. We're not going to have any more crime. There'll be no more crime. And the way he did that was with the guillotines. And there was basically no trial. In the USA, we're so used to having our time in court. And if you want to accuse me of something, you're going to have to prove it with evidence. Preponderance of the evidence. They didn't have anything like that in the world at that time. It was, you're with us or you're against us. And born-again Christians can't be with them for a lot of reasons, one of which is they can't give their loyalty to that man who's the world leader and to the ideas. And one of which is, we've been taught even from Yeshua himself, that if you take the mark, you're giving up your right to live with him. And I now know, this is 16 years later, I now know that I believe it changes our DNA. I didn't know any such thing all those years ago, but I knew a lot about the mark, and I knew what it represented, and I knew that people had, after a while, the mark started coming. Probably even now there are people who have microchips or different ways to do it. I also saw contact lenses, I think. There are already people who have that kind of thing, but now it's a choice. After our new leader, it's not a choice, it's mandated. You are either with him or against him. So everybody who was ever accused or found doing a crime, like sometimes we see robbers that they were inside a jewelry store and they get caught for some reason in the pipes or something. You know that the guy was there to rob, and maybe he already did, and he's got the jewels in his pocket and he's on his way out and gets caught. That guy absolutely is guilty by reasonable assumptions. So that guy would not get a trial. He would not have time to defend himself. it's clear he was guilty, and so he would be taken to the nearest guillotine. And people were beheaded constantly. It started as kind of news. You know, 14 people got beheaded today. And then it got to where it was every day and constantly and all over the world. So I want to read to you how I remember that he initiated the guillotines as a good thing. And I'm going to walk around the table so I can read it to you. Okay, you will see in this set, the scene, that I make an outdoor area. It's like a park. And there it's a setup. So let me read you the small things first, and then I'm going to read to you the backboard. So the first one is a big sign, and it says, "To all municipalities." So that's every city and state. That's not federal. That's every municipality. And it says, "Welcome to the first annual federally mandated guillotine show and sale. Stay around for the talk and drawing for door prizes." As they come into the park and they see like a car show, they see what's available. They go on back into the next one. It says, "The body of the guillotine can be average, oversized, or small, and the carriage can be on platform so that it's stationary, on wheels, or tires, or any size trailer, or even on a railroad gauge track to be able to be pulled." The final sign in the back says, "Mix and match or made to your specifications. The material can be lightweight plastic, rubberized, aluminum, stainless steel, and the colors can blend in or stand out, such as you can have John Deere green for farms, blue for areas around lakes, rivers, oceans, the Gulf of Mexico, and red to stand out, reducing crime just by its appearance." So you will see lots of different guillotines at this show and sale. There were, as you can see, we have chrome, stainless steel, and we have one head, just a pretend one there to be able to show people. The idea was they were always called a cancer on society. Anybody who would do a crime was a cancer on society. So this was the way to stop it. If that person was dead, they could never do another crime. And because the way it was introduced was slick, the way it was introduced, everybody said, "What a good idea." And I saw a couple of mothers of criminals, their sons had been murdered, had their head cut off, beheaded, and they knew it, but they said, "We understand, and we are loyal, and we understand how great it's going to be not to have to worry about our comfort. And if everybody's going to be treated equally, I can live with this." It shocked me that mothers felt okay about the loss of their children, but they all wanted peace and safety so much. So I want to share with you, now I'm going to read the top. "Created for you, introducing the Royal Order of the Lily. All people worldwide will now live in peace and safety with the instant, humane elimination of troublemakers. You will appreciate that there are no inhumane deaths, no pain, no waste, no prisons, no expense in feeding, housing, or caring for troublemakers. No crime, no fear. We turn a life liability into an asset. And you can be rewarded and awarded for helping make the world a better place for all of us in the bountiful win-win program. Pleasure is good, but world peace is better." So you get the idea that it's accepted that gosh, wouldn't it be nice to have world peace? So these guillotines go everywhere, and we see them light colors and dark colors, and the whole program was called the Royal Order of the Lily because the man who becomes the leader of the world did it as an honor to his mother, who happened to like lily flowers. So this was the only thing I could find to be able to show you what they used. But this is actually, I think, not a lily. I don't know if this might be a lily pad, but I think an actual lily has maybe fewer petals. But this was a crystal flower that I could use as an example of what they did. And they had, and I'll read you a little bit. Remember, I typed for 20 hours straight that night after the vision. I'll read you just one little tiny part of one section of what I wrote that night. The guy who introduces this, the world leader, he's serious and explains the real reason. Inside the chip is actually 3 separate computers. One for everything having to do with your health, genetics, and science. Another for money, employment history, your skills, and your taxes owed and paid. And one for your social area, showing your ability to your faith, for instance, what we would call our soul, which is our personality traits and abilities that can be used for the United Nations and criminal records. He shows an enlarged drawing of it, pointing to how each computer works on the pressure of our blood flow. And sure enough, inside the open triangle design, there are 3 little circles, one for each computer memory bank. He describes it as a lily, his mother's favorite flower. Just 3 little lily pads connected by their vine, and he's the toad in the middle, ha-ha. So it goes on to talk about how only the fundamental Christians see the real design. Irresistible charm, but in fact, it was the logo then of the United Nations in honor of the Creator Protectors and the gift of happiness they've given us. The attractive 3 circles represent the 3 phases of each of our 3 lives before we came to Earth, here on Earth, and where we get back to with them. We are told that our universe is teeming with life, and if we are to be in the Federation of Galaxies with all the modern advances, space travel, protection from the rogues, we will thrill to use the symbol. It is instantly considered the world flag. All the countries brag that their flag shows some of the theme of the design. The 3 circles are filled with representations of our Earth, our Sun, and our one moon. So now we talk about how everybody, like the Jews and the Muslims, think it's the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. The Jews know it's about them for the Star of David, which was 2 triangles, which is not true. And of course, the scientists know it's about atoms. Just look at that lily with protons, neutrons, electrons. Everyone clamors to wear this design. So the design, and you'll see, this is what I remember, and don't hold me to this. But this is what I remember of the flag, because I saw it so many times in the vision. I think it was like the UN flag, which is, I think, a pale blue. And inside, they had the 3, this is what the design looked like when they wore their lily, and they were part of the Royal Order of the Lily. And there was the 3 primary colors. It was yellow, red, and blue. When I first saw it, I thought I was seeing a snake eat its tail. But after some time of looking at it, I see that it's 3 sixes. So this is red, yellow, blue. This is the part inside the flag of the United Nations, and it was everywhere. It was on every shop window. It was on every door. If you were any kind of a patriot, you had that symbol. And then as a person wore, as they were part of the Brotherhood, they got every kind of reward. I was in Russia many, many years ago for a month, and I found out that they got goodies. They got advancements in life by doing favors for the state, the country. And so that's what this is. I hate to talk about this part, but you were encouraged to be a bounty hunter. And once you signed up at the post office, as you would have the right to be a bounty hunter. So if you knew, if your neighbor, if your grandma, if there was anybody that you knew for sure did not take the mark and they were hiding and you knew who they were, you went to class if you wanted to learn how to kill them. You could do it with a piano wire and all the different kinds of things to take their head off. Even young people, children were learning how to do that. So you had the right, and the USP, the post office, made a box that was, I think, maybe about, I'm guessing, 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot, like this, that would have held a bowling ball. And it was plastic lined, and as these people who belonged to this society would find someone who did not have the mark and was not loyal to the New World Order, they would kill this person and take their head and their right hand and put it in this box the size of a bowling ball, and they would tape it up. And when they put it in any post office, the post office knew what it was and where it was to go. And then that person, John Doe, who just did this, the bounty hunter program, they were given extra gemstones for their lapel pin. And they were given extra like points so that eventually you could have a nicer house, you could have a better job, easily get an extra car. You know, in the old days, we had yellow stamps when I was a kid. And if you added up those yellow stamps from buying gas and groceries and whatever, you could get some lovely things. And now we have frequent flyer miles, and it's about the same thing, where you can get something awesome just for your loyalty. And this is exactly what this is. It's loyalty being rewarded. So people put these heads and these hands in these boxes, and then in return, that was kept on a big computer, I assume. I didn't know how at the time. And they are given every kind of advancement, and they get better jobs. Maybe later I'll show you a big whiteboard that I've had for all 16 years when I put notes on 3x5 cards and put them on that board, and I still have it, and it's mostly still intact, about how it was all set together, how the levels of government, and you were really in or you were out. And if you were really in the in, you would do anything they wanted. And maybe that's what Freemasons are like now. If you get to the top level, you will do just about anything to please your peers and to go higher. And I know that from somebody in my own life. So, and we think 32nd degree is wow, wow, wow. But actually it goes to 90 degrees for the very top person. And they do not nice things. I think that the little local Freemasons, what they call the Blue Lodge and some of those, are lovely people who don't have a clue of what they're into. But you learn as you get farther along. So I just want to say that the guillotines are real. If what I saw is real, and everything so far points to the fact that it is all real, there are guillotines coming. There are worse deaths than that. And most people, not most, a lot, maybe half of everybody who's alive eventually dies one way or the other from a guillotine. So that's all for, that was scene 6, and now we'll go to scene 7.